People of Reddit, what is a surprisingly unknown survival fact that everyone should know? Pack a whistle. There's no chance your voice will hold out yelling at the top of your lungs, and whistles carry long distances. Especially handy if you've injured yourself and need to rely on others finding you. SOS in Morse code is 3 short blasts, 3 longer ones, 3 short, pause, and repeat. This is an especially handy and harmless device to give kids that are along for a hike, along with, if you get separated, stop walking and blow the whistle lots, and we'll come to you. Harmless. My parents gave me and my siblings whistles and they would blow them in the car for hours. And, yes, I realize this is incredibly petty when compared to how useful they are in emergencies. Lol, different strokes I guess. I and another father take a gaggle of our kids plus cousins for hikes/camping each summer, and they get a few minutes to test the whistle, then an explanation that it's like the fire alarm and not to be abused. Never had a problem. In general, signals in groups of 3 are signs that you need help. Anything that's clearly not natural counts. That could be piles of rocks, signal fires, strips of cloth tied to a tree, etc. Obviously you want it to be visible/audible to whoever might be searching for you. But the group of 3 means that it's not an accident or a coincidence, and so draws attention. If you get stuck in your car in the snow, stay with your vehicle. Hypothermia makes you delirious, and you can wander the wrong direction and freeze to death. Your vehicle is also a lot easier to locate than you are. When I was younger and traveled a lot, a friend from Minnesota told me to keep an unopened bottle of water, a blanket, matches, candle and a rope in the car during the winter months. A wax candle will provide enough heat to keep the car warm enough to survive with the blanket around you. Tie the rope to the car if you get out to relieve yourself, that way you can find your way back by following the rope if snowing. Water, well that is obvious. Canadian here, I do the same. I also my sleeping bag lives in my trunk during winter, also super convenient if you need to crash on a couch after a party. The other thing is to make sure the car exhaust is clear. If you keep the car running you may very well kill yourself by carbon monoxide otherwise. Also if there is an empty bottle you can pee in it and use it for warmth for a while. Same with the sleeping bag. I also keep my small single burner camp stove in my camp pot with 2 gas canisters and some of those freeze-dried meals in a bag. I've heard too many stories about people living off of hot sauce packets and whatnot when trapped with their car. When they find me, I'll be sleeping off a nice beef stroganoff. When wild camping and hiking in Scotland, some Dutch outdoor guy told us to always keep tampons to start a fire. He was so right. In a wet environment where all the leaves and branches are moist and the wind blows like crazy, we sometimes needed 1.5 hours to start a fire, and we needed the fire to at least have a warm meal in the night. They're the best fire starter. They're lightweight and tiny, easy to carry, you can pull them apart, and there's a lot of easily burning material that you can use as a fire starter. They also frequently come in sealed plastic wrappers, so are basically waterproof. They are also, unsurprisingly, sterile and good at soaking up blood. Makes them amazing for treating wounds. Edit, a lot of people putting words in my mouth. I said nothing about gunshot wounds or serious trauma. I'm talking about cuts, scrapes, small gashes when you're out in the woods and don't have access to proper medical supplies. I'm sure they'd work in an emergency for more serious injuries, but those aren't what I'm discussing. Obviously you should try to bring an actual medical kit with you, but I have used tampons in a pinch as a compress on minor bleeding injuries, and they work great. Most subway platforms have a space for a person to crawl under in case they fall on the subway's tracks. So if you fall off the edge of the platform and onto the tracks, instead of trying to climb back up, if you see a train coming, there's a crawl area underneath. It might be tight, and you'll certainly get dirty, but better than dying. This is actually really informative. Unfortunately so. They need signs and shit. No one knows that they won't be injured. its instinct to climb back out. Why have I never heard of this? Because I don't think it's there for that purpose. It looks like, especially in this picture, it's just a feature. Probably actually there for maintenance, maybe as an exhaust place. Like for the metal grinding, that way it has somewhere to go? Probably unlikely. But still, I highly doubt it's there for people to hide if they fall on the tracks. And if there were signs, imagine how many dumbasses or adrenaline junkies would hop down there just for the rush. Or regular junkies for a different rush. Here's one you can use every day: know your exits. People will naturally want to go out the way they came in, because it's the only exit they remember, especially at places like concert venues. You don't have to be paranoid, just take a quick glance and make a mental note. In the off chance an emergency happens, it could mean the difference between a swift and safe exit or being trampled in a panicking mass of people. That's something my dad always drilled into our heads anytime we'd go to any big events, and he'd always bring a small flashlight. I've never had to use an emergency exit, but I always make a point of finding the nearest one. Grew up not too far from where the station nightclub fire happened. It was brutal. There is a video where you can see just how fast the fire spread, and at the end you can see bodies piled up around the front door, while there were multiple other doors that were free and clear that people could have escaped out of. After that day, every parent/teacher/authority figure drilled into everyone's head to know multiple exits and always have a quick path to them. A couple of years ago, when my daughter got old enough to start seeing bands with her friends, I told her to look for all exits in event of fire, and showed her the station fire, and how quick it went up. She told me she already did look, but it was in case of gunfire. It made me sad. During the winter, it is way better to be slightly cold than it is to sweat. If you start to sweat, you can go hypothermic way faster. Reminds me of a quote from Bear Grylls. I need to work quickly before hypothermia sets in. But not too quickly, because then I'll start to sweat, the sweat will freeze, and then hypothermia sets in. While he's technically on the right path, he also a total hack, and spews a bunch of awful advice. If you somehow are in a situation where you feel like you could drown, and have no energy to go on, turn on your back, and do the backstroke. Saved my life while at the beach last week, after getting sucked out by a rip current. Float for your life. I used to teach swimming, and for people who aren't comfortable floating, focus on keeping your belly up, like a balloon full of air. If you spread out your arms, it might make things easier. If you can't fully backstroke, because maybe you can't stay on top of the water well enough, or you can't extend your arms like that, swim like a frog, by lifting your arms above your head, and then pushing them back towards your body. Think jumping jacks. If you are drinking plenty of water, but still showing signs of dehydration, headache, fatigue, muscle aches, blurred vision, stumbling around, you may be low on electrolytes. Salty foods can really help with this, but oral rehydration salts such as Pedialyte work even better, and should probably be in more people's backpacks. Disclaimer, those symptoms aren't limited to dehydration, and can also occur due to heat exhaustion, hypothermia, or altitude sickness. You just solved a big problem for me, holy shit. I forgot about my salts. Exposure and dehydration will duck you up much faster than hunger. Bring spare socks, your feet will rot if you don't. Rule of threes. 3 minutes without air, you dead. 3 hours exposed to extreme weather, you dead. 3 days without water, you dead. 3 weeks without food, you dead. And 3 months without hope. If you're having a bad time, talk to someone. Help is available, sometimes in the most unlikely of places. Barrel cactus in the Sonoran Desert are not full of water as is commonly portrayed. Instead, they are full of acidic solutions that induce vomiting and diarrhea if consumed. These can easily be fatal for a dehydrated person in the desert. The barrel cactus fruit, by contrast, is one of the most agreeable edibles in the cactus world. They are easy to pick, thornless, and tasty. I was led to believe that you should drink cactus juice. It'll quench you. Nothing's quenchier, and it's the quenchiest. When defending yourself, there is no need to fight fair. I tell my son, 14, this. Obviously you do not get violent until someone else does, but if someone has the intent of hurting you, it is fair game to punch them in the balls or worse. If by worse you mean castrating them with your bare hands, then yes. You can squeeze relatively safe water out of moss. Obviously you should still boil it, and it's going to have some dirt, but it's way better than drinking out of a steam or puddle. The amount of research I've done on moss for my thesis proves that this is indeed a safe method. You seem like you have an interesting doctorate. What was the subject of your thesis? This is my undergrad thesis. It's on bioreceptive architecture with moss as the BO. Long story, but very fascinating. And here we are. A random Tuesday night, almost midnight, and suddenly I'm interested in the undergrad thesis of a random passerby on whether to squeeze water from moss. I'm not even kidding. This is a subject that never passed my mind, but now I start wondering, and am truly interested. What kinds of mosses are there? What are the risks? What other sources of water generally are nearby? Really interesting. Best of luck on your follow-up career. If you accidentally disturb a beehive or wasp nest and are being swarmed, do not run for water. It seems intuitive that jumping in water will keep the bees off you, but actually they will wait for you to resurface and resume stinging you. Instead, run as fast and as far away as you can. Bees/wasps are territorial and will not easily leave their home range. So once you leave their comfort zone, you're pretty much safe. Or set yourself on fire. I once shoved my shoes under a roof at the beach so they wouldn't be stolen. They crunched into a hornet nest and I was swarmed. I jumped into the lake and swam underwater about 20 feet away and didn't get stung again. I had maybe 20 stings to my face before I got to the water. Jumping into water works just fine if you can swim a small distance underwater. It is also extremely soothing on wasp stings. Plus, if you drown, the pain immediately ends. A mirror is the best way to signal for help. You can use the reflection of the sun directed at a boat or plane like your sibling were to annoy you. The proper way to use a mirror to signal for help is to hold up one hand with a peace sign and position it so that whatever you are trying to signal can be seen between your fingers. Then shine the light from the mirror on your fingers. This guarantees that whatever you are signaling can see the light. If you are lost in the wilderness, if you have shelter and a source of water, and if you have reason to believe people will be looking for you, you are usually better to stay put than to try to find your way out. Wandering around lost, you expend a lot of energy. You could easily get into a far worse situation, and anyone looking for you will likely start at your last known or expected location, which, if you are lost, you might be wandering farther from. This is not always the case. It depends on if you are injured or not, and the nature of the injuries, on your relative safety, where you are at, how far you are relative to your expected or last known location, how visible you are, and a number of other situational factors. It is often worth a low-risk climb to a better vantage point if possible. People have died a few hundred meters from a road, which could have led them to safety. I've participated in a number of lost personnel searches. This is very good advice. If they know what area you were in, they'll simply grid it off and start doing line searches. If you stay stationary, they will find you. If you move around, you could move out of the search area or into an area they've already searched. Stay your ass in one spot if you want to live. If you're about to pass out from being exposed to heat, pour cold water on your forearms. Ice works even better. This is an old farmer trick. You will feel the effects immediately. You will stop being dizzy and feel better almost immediately. I've also used this to cool down or warm up in general. Cold in the office, but forgot your coat? Take a bathroom break and run warm water over your wrists. You'll be toasty warm in about 2 minutes. I have been planning an expedition to the Arctic. Hailing from a bearless UK, I had to research polar bears and how to prevent being mauled to death. I was quite surprised to find the survival rates of bear attacks differ massively depending on what you use. Guns have the lowest human survival rate, less than 50% from memory. Bear spray does okay if temperature allows, around 60-70%. However, the most effective way to scare off a bear is using a flare gun, over 90%. Apparently bears find screaming balls of fire hurtling towards them quite discouraging. I've been to talks given by researchers who went there and told us guns were mandatory. If those stats are true, then I wonder, why not flares or spray? The survival rate is so low because, believe it or not, people want to give the benefit of doubt to the bear. Usually trying for a scare shot, reluctant to shoot the pretty endangered bear. If you hear of a mass shooting currently taking place in a location where a loved one is, like their workplace/school/church or the mall they said they were visiting, you may feel very tempted to call them. Don't. If they're alive, they're hiding and trying to stay invisible. If their phone rings or even vibrates, it will draw attention to them, quite possibly that of the shooter or shooters, and give away their hiding space. Don't try to contact them at all until you are certain that the perpetrator or perpetrators have been stopped. Very rarely are people mentally prepared to fight a naked man. My buddy's fight strategy is to take off his shirt in a fight. If the other guy still wants to fight, he takes down his pants. I've rarely seen it go past there. If you're trapped in an extremely cold environment, a rudimentary igloo will keep you relatively warm, if you're smart about it. They keep heat in fairly well. However, always be sure to mark where you are with something that won't get covered in snow, so if rescue comes they don't miss you in the snow. You don't need to actually build an igloo, that's a lot of work. In Norway we learn that if you get caught out in a blizzard, dig a cave in the snow and seal it with a few blocks of snow as best you can. That only works with soft snow, right? Yes, well, you need deep snow, like a drift. Deep snow like that usually stays soft enough. If you are stabbed with something, and that object is still stuck in you, do not duck and pull it out. EMT trainee here. In a different program now due to COVID-19 circumstances, but in my old program one of the instructors told us of an EMT who had just started and was being observed by a paramedic on a stabbing call. The patient had been stabbed in the chest with the knife still there, and the first thing the trainee did was pull the damn thing out. Paramedic yells at him, and then he sticks the knife back in. Patient ends up dying, and the EMT got charged with manslaughter. He put it back in? Holy shit. You can remove the top of most car seats to break the windows of your car in case you can't open the doors. Especially useful if you drive into a lake or something like that. Not all are removable or sturdy enough for this, but it's an option of last resort. Just get a window hammer. They're dirt cheap and often come as part of a tool you wanted anyways. In my case, it's also a seatbelt cutter, pocket knife, and magnesium strip.